Single mom shocked as CEO smiles discover the incredible lesson learned from her 8-year-old son. In the bustling heart of Maplewood, a single mom named Sarah juggled 2 jobs while flashing her trademark smile. She worked at the local diner, where the aroma of coffee and the murmur of regulars created a familiar backdrop. But underneath the surface, her heart ached as the weight of financial struggles shadowed her dreams of a better life for her brilliant 8-year-old son, Max. The American dream felt like a distant mirage, growing dimmer with each passing day. One evening, after a long, exhausting shift, Sarah sat with her close friend Jessie. "Why do we always scrape by while others seem to thrive?" She sighed, pouring her heart out. The tough reality of her life pressed hard, her dreams feeling ever more out of reach. As they talked, Max, curious and earnest, listened from the other room, his young mind crafting hopeful ideas. Inspiration ignited within him when he heard about career day at school. "Mom!" he exclaimed, bursting into the room. "We need to talk. There's a big deal CEO visiting, Mr. Thompson. If you talk to him, maybe you can find opportunities." His eyes sparkled with a hope that tugged at Sarah's heart. Despite her hesitations, the tenacity and enthusiasm in Max's voice nudged her toward bravery. On the day of the event, with butterflies dancing in her stomach, Sarah stood before Mr. Thompson. Gathering all the courage she could muster, she approached him, but he dismissed her quickly. The rejection stung like a slap, leaving her feeling invisible, unworthy. She returned home, the humiliation clinging like a dark cloud. In their modest apartment later that night, uncertainty weighed heavily in the air. Sarah struggled to reassure Max, fearing the disappointment he could encounter in a world that often overlooked people like them. Her heart tightened as she saw his unwavering belief in her. "You can do anything, Mom," he said with a smile that ignited a flicker of hope inside her. Gathering strength from her son's unwavering confidence, she resolved not to let this be the end. The story escalated during a community event when Max, his own courage bubbling over, took the stage. Standing tall, he led a fundraiser for single parents, addressing a sea of faces. His heartfelt speech, raw and beautiful, captivated the audience, prompting them to connect with the struggles they shared. Among the listeners, Mr. Thompson's expression shifted as he began to grasp the weight of his privilege and the value of community. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As the evening wrapped up, the energy shifted, and a path forward began to reveal itself. Just then, Sarah was confronted by an unexpected offer. The air crackled with anticipation, she felt the weight of possibility in her chest. Taking this leap could change everything, and she stood at the crossroads, caught between doubt and hope. Would she seize this chance? The shadows of uncertainty danced around her heart, leaving readers on the edge of their seats, eager to discover what fate awaited Sarah and Max in their pursuit of the American dream. Max's expression changed as he noticed the shifting energy around his mom after his speech. The way people had looked at her admiringly, almost curiously, was something he'd never seen before. It stirred something inside him, a sense of empowerment. That night, he sensed the tug of something big on the horizon, even if his mother didn't yet see it. "Mom, can we go for ice cream?" he asked, tugging at her sleeve. The diner was closed, and they had some time to kill. "Sure, buddy. Ice cream it is," she replied, hoping a little treat would lighten their spirits. As they walked toward the nearest shop, her mind wandered back to Mr. Thompson. He'd seemed moved, but would he remember her? Would he reach out? Doubt crept back in, coating her thoughts like a familiar layer of dust. At the ice cream parlor, Max's laughter burst like bubbles in the warm evening air as he picked out a scoop of cookies and cream. Sarah felt a soft smile cross her lips, warmed by her son's joy. It was a simple adventure, but to Max, it was a grand celebration. She watched as he recited his favorite superheroes, jumping from one to another, his enthusiasm contagious. "Mom! Did you see how they listened? They really cared," he exclaimed, his eyes wide with excitement. "Yeah, they did, Max. You were fantastic up there," she replied, her heart swelling with pride. As they enjoyed their ice cream, the chatter faded into the background. It was just the two of them, basking in the moment. Suddenly, her phone buzzed, breaking the spell. She pulled it out and noticed an email notification from the community organization about a follow-up. She opened it, pulses quickening as she read. An invitation to meet Mr. Thompson again, this time in a more private, intimate setting to discuss potential initiatives for support. "Max, look at this," she said, her voice trembling with urgency. "He wants to meet us." Her son leaned over, eyes squinting at the screen. "That's amazing, Mom. I told you he would see how awesome you are." Sarah felt the weight of hope pressing against the chains of despair she often carried. What if she started, feeling the tremor of possibilities? What if this is the start of something new? "Of course it is," Max answered, excitement palpable in his voice. "This is your chance." Yet, just as hope threaded through her heart, fear cast its shadow. What if she failed again? What if she wasn't good enough? She couldn't afford to risk it all again, especially not after everything they'd been through. Max must have sensed her hesitation. "Mom, you always tell me not to give up. This is your moment to shine. What if you help other people like you? Just like how you support me?" His words struck a chord deep within her. Could she really make a difference? Could she turn her struggles into strengths and help them shape the community in a way she had always dreamed of? As they strolled home under the blanket of stars, a slew of emotions flooded Sarah's heart. The flicker of hope began to burn brighter, illuminating the dark corners of her fear. She could see a path ahead, one that might not be perfect but was definitely worth exploring. "Max," she started tentatively, "let's make a plan. Let's talk about what this could mean." Suddenly, a stubborn determination settled in her chest. Tomorrow, they would dive deeper. They would entertain ideas. They would tell their story, but one moment held her heart in suspense. An unexpected text pinged through her phone, stopping her mid-sentence. "Sarah, I'd like you to join a discussion panel next week. There are people interested in hearing your story." Her breath caught in her throat as she glanced at Max, wide-eyed with excitement. In that heartbeat, everything could change. Would she step into the spotlight, ready to own her story? Her pulse quickened, heart racing with the thrill and fear of what lay ahead. "Mom, are you thinking of saying yes?" Max asked, his anticipation electrifying the air between them. "Yes," she whispered, feelings spiraling inside her like wild fireworks. "I think I am." And just like that, they stepped into the unknown. Together. What awaited them on that stage? Would Sarah find her voice, or would fear silence her once more? The sun rose the next morning, spilling golden light into the cramped kitchen. Sarah sat at the table, laptop open, staring at the email from Mr. Thompson again. It felt as if the words were dancing in front of her, taunting her to take the leap. Max, with his beaming smile and boundless energy, sat across from her, pouring milk over his cereal. "Mom, are you really gonna do it?" he asked, spoon pausing midair. "I think so, Max," she answered slowly, uncertainty still gnawing at her heart. "I mean, it's a big deal. Don't let the big deal scare you. You're bigger than that, remember? Like when you stand up to the waiters when they mess up my order." He grinned, clearly trying to lighten her mood. That it worked for a moment. She laughed, picturing the scene he reminded her of. It was true, she could be fierce. But this was different. This wasn't just about the best pancakes. This was her story, her life, and in many ways, this opportunity felt like a stage set for her fears to play out. "We can work it out together, Mom," Max said sincerely. I'll help you. We can practice your speech. You're the best storyteller I know. That helped, grounding her in the possibilities, yet she felt the weight of what lay ahead. Okay, let us make a plan, just like we discussed, she replied, mustering her resolve. How about we brainstorm some points I want to cover? With that, the two of them transformed their kitchen into a makeshift creative space. Max rounded up colored markers as Sarah set up her laptop. The energy shifted, her nervousness channeling into productivity. They laughed as they scribbled ideas on paper, each point sprinkled with encouragement, each laugh erasing a bit of fear. Hours later, pages were filled with notes. Ideas flowed, and with each one, she felt lighter. The more they talked, the more she remembered the strength within her. Mom, you've had struggles that no one else has. That makes your story important. Max declared. His conviction struck a chord. It was true, she had walked through darkness, and perhaps sharing that journey could shine a light for someone else. I can do this, she whispered under her breath, a spark igniting within her. As evening started to settle in, her phone buzzed again. Another message from Mr. Thompson popped up. He was confirming the time and location, and then he added something that made her heart leap. I look forward to hearing how your experiences can empower others. Empower others. Those words echoed in her mind. She took a deep breath, realizing this wasn't just about her anymore. This was about community, support, stories connecting, and healing. Max! She exclaimed, jumping from her chair, filled with newfound energy. We have to get you started as my biggest fan. We need to pick an outfit for when I tell my story. Like a superhero outfit. He shouted, already racing towards his room. Even better. She laughed, following him. But as the excitement swelled, a moment of hesitation flickered in her heart. What if she couldn't inspire people after all? Are you alright, Mom? Max's voice broke into her thoughts, concern etching his little brow. Sarah knelt down, looking directly at him. What if I mess up? What if they don't like what I have to say? Mom, it doesn't matter if you fumble. What matters is that you try. And I'll be right there with you. He beamed, confidence radiating off him, tears pricked at the corners of her eyes. How had she gotten so lucky? This little boy had turned her fear into courage. Okay, she smiled, feeling the power of his belief wash over her. That night, as they picked out clothes and practiced her speech, hope replaced her fears. Maybe, just maybe, she was ready to step into the light, but then her phone rang again. A call from Mr. Thompson. Sarah, just wanted to discuss what to expect. Do you have any specific concerns about the panel? His voice was calm and encouraging, yet it sent a spark of anxiety through her. It was almost time. Would she really stand up and share her story? Mom, you got this. Max whispered, squeezing her hand tightly. Deep breath. She could feel the universe nudging her forward, pulling her into something that could change everything. Let us talk, she said, feeling that light flicker back into her. What awaited her was still unclear, but one thing was for sure: Sarah was ready to embrace whatever came next. But little did they know, something unexpected was preparing to shake their world once again. What would happen next? The next day dawned a sky-blue hue, the sun spilling warmth through the kitchen window like an artist painting a masterpiece. Sarah fidgeted with her phone, glancing at the clock. Time was creeping forward, yet it felt like it was flying by. Max ran circles around her, bouncing off the walls with bubbling enthusiasm. Mom, are you nervous? He asked, catching his breath. A little, she admitted, smoothing her hair back. But I think I'm ready. I really do. You are. He said, his bright smile shining like a beacon in the room. You've practiced so much. You'll get to tell your story and help people. As the words flowed from his mouth, she felt her chest swell with a mix of pride and apprehension. They had prepared and rehearsed over and over again, but the fear of standing in front of a crowd still lingered like uneaten leftovers in the fridge. Okay, she chimed, shaking her head slightly to clear away thoughts of doubt. Let us do something fun before we go. How about baking some cookies? Max's face lit up. Can I eat the cookie dough? Of course. She laughed, basking in his excited energy. They moved to the pantry, rummaging for ingredients. Flour, sugar, and chocolate chips flew around the kitchen like confetti, every mishap followed by laughter that echoed against the walls. As they rolled and shaped the dough, Sarah's heart felt a little lighter. The kitchen was filled with scents that wrapped her in nostalgia, a reminder of simpler times when she felt less pressure. Mom! Max shouted, his eyes wide with alertness. What if we included a cookie in your speech? Like a little gift for everyone after you tell your story. That's a great idea. She replied, surprised at how quickly her anxiety was melting away at the thought. I can tell them to take a bite, just like I took a bite out of my challenges. Each cookie can represent something I learned. Yes. Like chocolate chips for the sweet moments and nuts for the hard times. Max's imagination fired up, and soon they were brainstorming metaphors between spoonfuls of dough, but just as they were about to wrap things up, a sudden knock on the door startled them both. Sarah's heart raced. Who could it be? She exchanged nervous glances with Max, who looked equally curious. Let's check it out together, Sarah suggested, reaching for her phone just in case it was something serious. She opened the door cautiously, revealing a familiar face. Hi, Sarah. Hope I'm not interrupting anything, said Lily, the neighbor and a close friend. I just came by to wish you luck. Sarah's shoulders relaxed as she stepped aside to let her in. Thanks, Lily. I really appreciate it. I've been a ball of nerves this morning. Lily's eyes glimmered knowingly. You're going to do amazing. You have a voice people need to hear. I've seen you grow, Sarah, and I admire you. Just remember why you're doing this. Her words struck Sarah like lightning. It wasn't just about her anymore, it was about empowerment, making connections, sharing resilience. The flutter of anxiety in her belly began to swirl into something else, a breath of anticipation. Thanks. That means a lot, she said, feeling gratitude wash over her. I really want to inspire others. Then get out there and shine. Lily encouraged. I can't wait to hear about it later. As they chatted and shared laughs, Sarah felt emboldened. There was something magical about support, a web of community that wrapped her with warmth. But as she closed the door after Lily left, her phone buzzed again, and a flicker in her stomach returned. A notification from Mr. Thompson, just checking in. Are you ready for the big day? I can't wait to see what you have to share. Taking a deep breath, she looked at Max, who grinned as he licked a spoon. Mom, you're gonna be great. Let us hope so, she whispered, a mix of excitement and fear churning inside her. Almost time. She could feel the shift within her. But just then, a flash of anxiety crossed her mind. What if this wasn't just about her awakening? What if there was a revelation that could change everything? At that moment, Sarah realized there were layers to this journey she hadn't quite expected. With her heart racing and Max's encouragement ringing in her ears, she stepped closer to the unknown. What awaited her on that stage would be more than just words, and it was about to get even more complicated. Was she truly ready to share it all? The minutes crawled on, each tick of the clock echoing in the stillness of the house. Sarah stood at the counter, staring at the semi-cooled cookies, their golden edges reminding her of the warmth she needed in her heart. Max was now absorbed in a cartoon, blissfully unaware of the turmoil brewing in his mother's mind. Mom. He piped up, pausing the show. What are you thinking about? Just how lucky I am to have you, buddy, she responded, forcing a smile that felt heavier than usual. Are you worried about the speech? His eyes searched hers, innocent yet piercing. Yes, a little, she admitted. But remember, I want to help people, just like we talked about. Max nodded, then chewed on his bottom lip, deep in thought. You will help them. You're like a superhero for adults. A giggle escaped her lips, lightening the mood just a notch. A superhero without a cape. I'm wearing a dress instead. But still a superhero. He insisted, jumping off the couch and marching to her side, fists on his hips. Sarah couldn't help but roll her eyes playfully. All right, my little general. What's the plan? He thought for a second, then broke out into a grin that lit up his entire face. You should wear a crown. Just like a real queen. Maybe I'll save that for the encore, she laughed. But as his laughter echoed in the kitchen, darkness slipped back in, crowds of uncertainty looming in the corners of her mind. Mom, I think you should tell them about the real stuff, Max ventured, his voice suddenly serious. Like the hard days. If you talk about those, they'll know you're brave. Her heart did a little flip. You mean being honest about my struggles? The tough times? Yep. Everyone has those. Even superheroes. He exclaimed, a determined gleam sparkling in his eyes. His words landed heavier than she was ready for. Would opening up about her deepest fears really make a difference? A part of her questioned if honesty would weaken her. Would they see her as just a single mom struggling or as someone who had risen up? I think you're right, she finally said, feeling a weight lift but replaced by a new sense of vulnerability. But it's scary to show the world that part of me. Then they'll see how brave you are. And they'll be brave too. Max urged, bouncing back to his energetic self, nodding slowly. She processed her son's wisdom that seemed far beyond his years. Courage came from sharing, from confronting hardships instead of hiding them in a closed box. With renewed determination growing in her gut, Sarah felt the energy shift in the room. What if she truly transformed her fears into strength? It might help a weary soul in the audience find their footing too, yet, she still needed to face her own doubts head-on. Her phone buzzed again, a message from Lily this time, don't forget to breathe. You got this. Okay, Sarah said, her voice steadier now as she pulled Max into a tight hug. Just remember, I wouldn't be doing this without your support. Superhero team forever. He shouted, raising his fist in the air as if declaring a new mission. The clock ticked down, each second leaving a mark. A sudden thought jostled in her brain. What if her story contained more than just her journey? What if it was the lesson Max shared about revealing truths and supporting one another that resonated the most? As she tied up the kitchen, the scent of freshly baked cookies enveloped her like a protective cloak. Would these little treats symbolize not just the struggles, but the hope she aimed to ignite? Just then, Max burst into the room, eyes wide and face lit up. Mom, I have another idea. What if you invited people to share their stories too? His words left her breathless, a twist of excitement sweeping through her. What if this wasn't just her moment but a shared one? What if she could open the door for others to speak, to heal together? A wave of courage swelled inside her. The door to this new chapter was creaking open wide. But with each idea, a new wave of anxiety surged. What if their stories were too painful? Would she be able to handle the weight of others' burdens? As the clock finally chimed the hour, Sarah felt both elated and terrified. Standing before the crowd was no longer just about her. What awaited her on that stage extended far beyond her own experiences. Was she ready to embrace the voices around her? The moment came faster than Sarah anticipated. As she left the kitchen, she felt her heart pounding against her chest like a drum. Each step felt heavier, the floor beneath her almost pulling her back. She could hear Max's laughter trailing behind her, a comforting echo drowned by the thundering of her thoughts. The school auditorium buzzed with the chatter of parents, the excitement palpable in the air. Bright banners unfurled across walls, vibrant and cheerful, contrasting her swirling emotions. She followed the crowd, her mind racing through the speech she had practiced over and over. As she took her place in the back, the warm lights blinked above and the cheerful sounds faded, leaving a hollow silence that gripped her. Max was ready, jumping up and down in his seat, eyes sparkling with pride. He waved his tiny hands at her, as if trying to pull her into his world of simple joy. "Mom! Are you ready?" he yelled, making heads turn. The friendly faces around them smiled, but they didn't hear the storm brewing inside her. "Yeah, I'm ready," she whispered truthfully, though it felt like a lie dripping with uncertainty. The principal stepped up to the microphone, and the room settled into anticipation. "Welcome everyone. Today, we have an amazing treat. We'll hear from our very own Sarah." A round of applause erupted, cutting through her nerves like a knife. She took a deep breath, her palms clammy as she waited for her name to be called. Doubts churned in her mind, threatening to smother her resolve. What if she forgot her words? What if she was a failure standing at the front? "Sarah." The principal beamed, motioning for her to come forward. With shaky legs, she moved to the front of the stage, the spotlight landing on her, too bright and too hot. It felt as if the whole world had converged into that one moment, staring at her, expecting something extraordinary. She stumbled over her greeting, but the warmth of the crowd melted the ice in her heart. "Hi everyone. I'm Sarah, and I'm here to share a little about myself and something very special Max told me." Nervous laughter floated in the air, and she could feel the encouragement radiating from the audience as she glanced at her son, who beamed proudly. She shared snippets of her struggles, the sleepless nights, juggling work and parenting, the moments in the dark where hope felt buried. As she spoke, the words began to flow more freely. She shared how Max had inspired her to be authentic, to embrace all parts of her experience, even the tough ones. "I learned that vulnerability is not weakness," she declared, her voice gaining strength. Eyes widened around her, focused on every word. "When I tell the hard truths, I not only free myself, but I help others find their courage." A ripple of murmurs filled the room. She felt a connection building, weaving between her and the audience, linking stories and truths together. People began nodding, the understanding passing like electricity. Just when she thought she was finding her footing, nerves danced in her stomach. "But I want to hear your stories too, the real ones. Because we're all in this together, right?" The request felt like a leap into the unknown. Would they share? In response, voices began to stir. A few brave souls exchanged glances, hesitation wavering in the air. Max clapped enthusiastically, the sound pushing her onward. "Let us create a space where we can share the weight. Where stories are honored and the tough days can connect us deeper," she said, the passion swelling in her heart like a balloon about to burst. Just as she finished, the tension broke completely. "Yes!" someone shouted from the back. "Let us do it." She could feel the energy shift. The audience leaned in, faces bright and revealed, eyes dancing with a newfound understanding, and there was encouragement bloomed like flowers in spring. What she feared might simply be her moment, became a bigger transformation, a louder call for collective healing. But as she looked out into the sea of faces, a new fear crept in. What if she couldn't hold the weight of others' stories? What if she opened a door that she couldn't close? Feeling her heartbeat quicken again, she steadied herself, lifting her chin. "I'm ready to listen. Are you?" The crowd erupted into applause, but beneath the warm sound lingered in the air a lingering question. Would she be able to shoulder their burdens alongside her own? As the applause rang in Sarah's ears, she felt a wave of warmth wash over her. It was more than just applause, it was validation. It was the high tide of courage lifting her spirit. She managed a soft smile, knowing she had ignited something in that room, a spark of connection, a promise of honesty. Max's wild clapping and laughter broke through her moment of contemplation. He was jumping in his seat, eyes filled with excitement and pride. His joy was the anchor that kept her grounded in that dizzying sea of emotions. Yet, as she absorbed the laughter and the smiles from those around her, a flicker of anxiety remained. Would they really share their stories? Would they trust her with their truths? "Okay, let us hear from you," she called out, her voice steadying. "Who wants to go first?" A hush fell over the audience. Sarah studied their faces, searching for bravery among the uncertainty. A woman in a floral dress shifted in her seat, biting her lip. Sarah felt her heart race again, urging the woman to speak. That moment of crickets, the silence thick with potential. A tentative hand rose from the second row. It was the floral dress woman. I've been a single mom for 5 years, she began, her voice low but while still steady. And some days, it feels like I'm just going through the motions. I forget to breathe. To find joy. Sarah's breath caught. She nodded, urging her to continue. The audience leaned in, eyes now wide, hanging on her every word. Last week, my daughter and I were sitting at the dinner table. The woman recounted how her daughter had looked across the table, pouring all her innocent joy into their conversation. She said, "Mom, sometimes I forget to smile. Can we make it a rule to smile at dinner?" And just like that, everything changed. We laughed so hard for the first time in ages. A ripple of recognition spread across the room. Heads nodded, smiles crept onto lips. That simple statement carried weight. It was true, a child's pure joy could break through life's heaviness. Sarah felt the tension in her own body ease. There was a collective sigh of relief. Others were joining in with stories of their own trials and triumphs intermingling in the air like a beautifully tangled web. One by one, the stories unfolded, raw and powerful. A man spoke of losing his job, the embarrassment lingering, until his son reminded him that they still had each other. Another shared how her daughter's laughter had revived her after a painful separation. Sarah's heart swelled with gratitude. Together, they created a sanctuary right there in the auditorium, a reminder that no matter how alone each of them felt, they were profoundly connected through their struggles. As the last voice faded, Sarah felt every ounce of her doubt start to shift. She had welcomed their stories, and they had shared them freely. There was a weight in the room, but it became a shared burden, no longer hers alone. But just as she prepared to sum up, the principal's voice echoed from the back. "Incredible, right? Who would have thought this would become a gathering of resilience?" The audience clapped once more, but Sarah's gaze trailed to the side of the stage where a familiar face stood watching. It was Jake, the CEO, who had been busy tightening the corporate reins on the office policies just days before. He looked perplexed yet curious, leaning in as if he were hearing them for the first time. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. What did he think of this vulnerable sharing? As the applause faded, a new wave of doubt washed over her. What would happen when he spoke? Would he acknowledge the power of connection, or would he slip back into his corporate shell? "Sarah!" He finally called out, stepping toward her, an unexpected smile on his face. "Can we talk?" Her breath hitched. Could he truly understand the depth of their stories? Or would he, too, shrink into the warm cocoon of indifference? With the echoes of shared pain still in her ears, Sarah felt the weight of a new turning point right in front of her, one that could change everything again. Would she find a new ally, or would she face an unexpected challenge from the corporate world? Sarah's heart raced as Jake approached her, his footsteps echoing with a purpose that startled her. She could see the curiosity in his eyes, but also a hint of something more layered, maybe even human. She swallowed hard, pushing aside her doubts. "Sure," she replied, her voice steady despite the turbulence within. He gestured toward a quieter corner of the stage. As they moved away from the crowd, Sarah could still hear snippets of conversation, people sharing experiences and finding solace in each other's stories. It energized her, yet it left her apprehensive about this sudden meeting. "Wow," Jake said, running a hand through his hair. "I didn't expect something like this." "What do you mean?" Sarah asked, her brow furrowed. "I mean, it's powerful," he continued. "We sit in boardrooms talking about bottom lines and metrics, but this is real. This matters." She inhaled deeply, letting his words settle. Part of her wanted to believe him, but there was still a nagging doubt. "Do you really think this will change anything?" His gaze shifted to the audience, each face lit with authenticity. I think it has the potential to reshuffle our priorities, he admitted. I was so caught up in the grind that I lost sight of the human side of what we do. Seeing these people connecting, it's a wake-up call. The sincerity in his voice softened her defenses. What do you plan to do about it then? Jake rubbed the back of his neck, knotting the fabric of his shirt. I don't have all the answers yet. But I want to start conversations that go beyond spreadsheets and reports. Perhaps even bring some of this into our company culture. For a moment, Sarah's hope flickered like a candle in the wind. That would be something if you could manage that. I want to. I know I can't change everything simultaneously, but maybe starting with small gestures could make a difference. Maybe we could even collaborate. You know, facilitate these kinds of talks in the workplace. Really? Sarah asked, a rush of excitement bubbling within her. You'd be willing to take that leap? Absolutely, he confirmed. I may have played it safe for too long. But there is something here that we can build on. As their conversation unfolded, Sarah felt her fear of corporate indifference start to fade. Maybe she had been wrong about him. Perhaps he could be an ally in fostering connection and growth. Yet beneath her budding optimism, a lingering question nagged at her. Jake, what about the opportunities and pressures we face every day? Change is hard in those walls. What if they push back? Jake's smile faltered slightly, echoing the uncertainties they both faced. Change always comes with challenges. It might take time to shift perspectives, but it's worth the effort. If we can breathe life into this belief, we might find more support than we expect. As he spoke, inklings of determination seeped into Sarah's thoughts. It could be the beginning of something monumental, but she needed to be cautious. The corporate world was complex, and one voice didn't always stir the waters. Let us give it a shot, she said finally, resolving to be brave. But we'll need more stories. More voices. Agreed, Jake replied, his eyes gleaming with new energy. I'll reach out to the group, Sarah suggested, feeling a surge of resolve. She could feel her heart pounding, ignited by the idea of a collaborative future. Before they parted ways, she added, also, thank you for being open to this. It means more than you know. He nodded, the momentary connection lingering in the air. Thank you for reminding me what really matters. As they walked back toward the crowd, Sarah felt a sense of anticipation blooming inside her. Maybe they were steering toward a deeper understanding that could ripple throughout their community. And yet, as mingled voices filled the air, the question remained, would this newfound partnership truly transform the fabric of their workplace? Or would they encounter more resistance than they ever imagined? The next morning, Sarah woke up feeling lighter. The conversation with Jake had reignited a spark in her, something she hadn't felt in a long time. Her son, Sam, bounded into her room, all energy and enthusiasm, a goofy smile plastered across his face. Mom! I had the best dream! He exclaimed, his voice bursting with excitement. She sat up, ruffling his hair. What was it about? We were superheroes. And we saved a whole city from bad guys using our awesome powers. Sarah chuckled, wrapping her arms around him. That sounds incredible, buddy. Who were you? I was the strongest of all. And you were the brains. We made a great team. He said, beaming. She couldn't help but feel that his innocent enthusiasm could be just what she needed to drum up the courage to face the challenges ahead. As they sat at the breakfast table, Sam munched on his toast while Sarah sipped her coffee, pondering her conversation with Jake. It struck her that this partnership needed to be more than a corporate initiative, it had to resonate with the personal experiences of employees. Not just numbers on a balance sheet, real stories that mattered. Over the next few days, Sarah reached out to her group, those touched by the stories shared at the meeting. She gathered snippets of their lives, weaving together a deeper narrative about what connection truly meant in the workplace. It was moving, their voices echoed a wealth of untapped potential for change. Each story reflected resilience, struggles, and triumphs, forming the bedrock of something transformative. Wow, Mom! So many people have cool stories. Sam's curiosity piqued as he watched her compile their testimonials. Yes, sweetheart. They do. And I think we can help make it better for everyone, she replied, encouraged by his feedback. You should tell them to share even more stories. Like, about their dreams and adventures. That is how we saved the city. Sam nodded enthusiastically. Her heart swelled. He was right. What if they encouraged employees to share their dreams and aspirations, just like heroes? It could create a powerful shift in the workplace dynamic. She spent hours after Sam went to bed, fine-tuning her ideas into a presentation for their first meeting with Jake. Her heartbeat quickened as she imagined standing before him, unveiling a strategy built on the authenticity of shared experiences. But as she prepared, doubt crept in. What if Jake didn't share her vision? Would he think this was just a bunch of stories doing nothing in the grand scheme of company goals? The next day, she arrived at her office, pacing the blur of cubicles, feeling the weight of uncertainty like a brick in her stomach. She took a deep breath, remembering Sam's jubilant voice. Just be yourself, Mom, she could almost hear him say. The clock ticked down to noon, the hour they'd meet. When she entered the conference room, Jake was already there, flipping through the reports she had submitted. He looked up, his expression a mix of focus and inquisitiveness. Ready? He asked with a comforting smile. Ready, she replied, heart racing. They exchanged notes. Sarah shared her vision fueled by the stories she'd collected. Jake's response was thoughtful. This is fantastic, Sarah. But we need a way to integrate it into our existing structure. Otherwise, it will just float away amidst the daily grind. Her excitement deflated momentarily. So, you're saying it might not work? No, I'm saying it needs layers of support, he clarified. We can't just plant a seed and walk away. We need to nurture it. Fingers trembling slightly, Sarah began to craft plans to weave their stories into the fabric of team meetings and company events, urging Jake to find allies among other leaders. As they solidified plans, there was a moment of silence, a mutual understanding hanging in the air. They weren't just co-workers anymore, they were partners in a deeper mission, but amidst the excitement of possibilities, a shadow of concern loomed. Would they gather enough support to sustain this effort? The question nagged, keeping Sarah on edge. Let us get this rolling. Jake said, his intensity piercing through her worries. The foundation felt solid, yet she couldn't shake the weight of impending doubt. What would they do when the challenges began to rise? As the meeting wrapped up, an undeniable realization settled. They were on the brink of something big, but every leap needed a push. And just as hope began to surface, another thought hit her: what if someone tried to undermine their efforts before they even took off? In the weeks that followed, a transformation began to unfold. Sarah and Jake worked diligently, crafting strategies to embed storytelling into the company's core. Sarah's heart soared as she spent her days rallying teams, gathering stories, and weaving together a tapestry of shared experiences. The collaborative atmosphere began to shift, with employees sharing their dreams and laughter echoing in hallways that had once felt stifled by corporate anxiety. One afternoon, a big meeting was scheduled. The boardroom buzzed with chatter. Jake stood at the front, confidence radiating from him, but Sarah knew the true strength came from the voices of the people she had gathered. It was time to shine a light on those stories, to show how they linked to the company's vision. As the meeting commenced, Sarah felt a tinge of nerves, and yet, her hope blazed brighter. Today, we're not just talking numbers, Jake began, his voice commanding attention. We're diving into real-life stories that can reshape our culture. He turned to Sarah, nodding encouragingly. With a deep breath, she stepped forward. Imagine a place where every voice matters, she started, her heart racing. Where successes and struggles are shared openly, creating a ripple of connection throughout our business. She shared snippets of her journey, her trials and triumphs as a single mom, and how her son's dreams mirrored those of every person in the room. Feedback flowed seamlessly. A woman from accounting shared how a simple gesture from her colleague had reignited her passion for work. The words bounced like fireworks, igniting acknowledgement, vulnerability, and camaraderie among everyone present. Laughter mingled with tears, and it felt like they were all stepping into a warm embrace wrapped in understanding. The boardroom transformed into a sanctuary where walls cracked open, revealing the humanity that often hid behind spreadsheets and protocols. As voices rose, Sarah glanced at Jake, his eyes gleaming with pride. He was engaged, leaning into the stories, his earlier doubts slowly melting away. Together, they organized plans to initiate regular meetings focused on collective storytelling, fostering bonds amongst employees across departments. By the end of the meeting, the atmosphere brimmed with energy. Feedback was overwhelmingly positive, and Sarah could see real change brewing in the air, a tangible sense of hope. But as they wrapped up, the shadows of corporate norms loomed again. Strong ideas are often met with skepticism, Jake remarked, his brow furrowed slightly. We'll need to ensure we maintain this momentum. Together, we can do this, Sarah said, feeling more empowered than ever. Let us keep building on these connections. Maybe even arrange shared events where everyone can continue sharing. As they exited the meeting, Sarah felt the thrill of something unprecedented at hand. She and Jake had created a culture where vulnerability led to strength, where each story held the potential to inspire others. Days turned into weeks, and the stories continued to ripple through their workplace. Employees began to look out for each other, offering support as they shared their dreams. Then came the biggest surprise of all. One evening while she was closing up at the diner, Sarah received an unexpected text from Jake. "Sarah, I'm so proud of what we've started. I think we should take this concept public, maybe create a community event that highlights personal stories to inspire our neighborhoods too." Her heart raced. They could make an even bigger impact. "Yes. Let us do it," she responded, filled to the brim with excitement and possibility. Then her heart swelled when she glanced at Max, who was beaming with pride as he overheard her conversation. "Mom, I knew you could do it," he exclaimed, running in for a hug. In that moment, Sarah felt the warmth of her son's belief surround her like a golden light. In the coming months, they prepared tirelessly for their public event, inviting community members to share their own stories. The day of the event dawned bright and beautiful, laughter mingling with the scent of fresh cookies, creating a festival atmosphere. It was electrifying. As she took the stage that day, surrounded by her community, her heart was full. "Today, we celebrate our stories," she declared, her voice strong and confident, resonating with hope. "This is for every one of you who thought your voice didn't matter. It's time we change that." Cheers erupted, and as stories poured forth, it became clear that sharing the burdens and the triumphs was more than a therapeutic exercise. It forged connections stronger than steel, reminding people that they were never alone, and standing at the forefront, Sarah felt invincible. The journey of a single mom had transformed into a journey of community revival. Her dream was no longer just hers, it was a shared path toward a brighter future. In that electric moment, Sarah realized, change is possible when a community unites through authenticity. Each voice matters, and together they could build a better world, one story at a time. As the event drew to a close, an idea sparked in her mind. They were just beginning, and together, they could flourish even more, building bridges to empower, uplift, and connect with each other. And as she held Max's hand, joy swelling inside her, she knew they would keep reaching for the stars forever, a superhero team, fighting for dreams, light, and loving connections. Now, if you felt inspired by Sarah's journey, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Hit that like button to help us spread these heartwarming stories across the globe. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings about this incredible transformation. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how powerful collaboration and storytelling can be. Join us in this journey and keep believing in each other.